Good morning.
Perfect. The first view for everybody is us having some water, and is this an introduction? Shall we introduce? Or
Sure.
welcome to Big Venus Energy, our little cave of, entertainment,
Wonder.
conversation, wonder. I like
Deconstructing the world around us and then recreating the world that we want to see and be a part of.
Why do you think I'm partnering with her? She's got away with words, y'all. Oh my God.
Ah,
Yes,
thank you.
beautiful.
I appreciate you.
And of course, you need to know who we are. This is the beautiful Lo, and I'm Sharada. Welcome to our podcast that we are
Little
calling.
corner of the world.
Yes, we talk about little things, small things, things that matter to us, and it's it's a bit of a take on big dick energy.
Yeah.
And we felt that it started off with being aggressive, in your face, to the point of people owning the energy, and we wanted to use that and grow from it. We're like, what better way to talk about it than Big Venus
To
energy?
be here, the big V.
Absolutely. Woo-hoo!
So yeah, let's take it in. It's really so special. I think every time that we get together, I always say how appreciative I am of your presence and your energy. And I actually met Sharda at a Pilates studio
Mm-hmm.
where she is still an instructor and Fridays still
Yes.
at Club Pilates, and it's amazing. I had never done Pilates before, and working there was my first experience of it. To me, it was like this very out of touch, only ballerinas did Pilates kind of entity. And then when I took your class,
Was
and
mine your first class to take ever? Or had you
I'm
taken
not
somebody else's?
Sure, I think that yours was the first one I felt comfortable getting into.
Okay.
That's
I feel so honored, yo. I feel so
It
honored.
was special because it felt fun. It didn't feel too serious, but at the same time, the way you adjusted things and the way you own a room and run a room and how you wanted it to be something that was just pumped full of reward, right? And not something that made you feel bad, because a lot of times when you haven't worked out, like I hadn't for a while, it can feel defeating to even start.
Yeah.
And you light up spaces, and I hope that you know that about yourself.
Listen, this is the reason I hang out, okay? She just showers me with compliments, and who doesn't want to be showered with compliments? Be around people who cherish you and celebrate you.
And that's kind of the topic of the day. We wanted to talk about some of the small things.
Absolutely.
I think that you probably have a lot of appreciation for some of the small things, just coming back after a long vacation, a lot of travel.
Fine, even so, I went to the vacation she's talking about. I went to my home country, India, and we were there for 2 weeks, which is pretty short when you're trying to go a good 12-hour time difference away from where you are at, and you're in the US, just to level set things. And it was very hectic, and I had significant anxiety going in, but having the support of my kid and my spouse, and taking a little time to read, I bought a beautiful book that I'm reading right now. I finished an entire book there. I love buying a book or two when I'm in the airport, especially if I'm doing long travel. And the small things that worked and didn't work, we should talk about it, because there is an appreciation for every droplet adds up to a big ocean,
Right.
to a storm. So understanding what those small things are, what's in front of us, finding a little time for myself, finding a little time with my parents, going for a cute little chaat dinner that we had like no plans for, and we're like, let's just go. They were really nice moments to connect, and we also did some big things. we went and saw Taj Mahal.
That's amazing.
It was gorgeous. If you're going to see Taj Mahal, and if you do travel, during the summer or whatnot, seeing it during sunrise is probably the best.
I can
And we saw it.
imagine.
So, thank you for setting me up. But it was I survived.
She made it?
I made
She came
it. I thrived. I came back and was a little sick.
Yeah. And that happens. I think our bodies also make sure that you take time to integrate. And I think that when, you and I were texting and you kept apologizing, and we're kind of the same way. You can't apologize to us.
You don't need to, but yet.
And all that I could think of was how much of a whirlwind everything must have been.
It was.
Going back to your home country. Did you go to Chennai?
We did. I mean,
Okay.
that's where both my parents and my husband's parents lived. So we
Absolutely.
went to
So
Chennai.
home. And then celebrating your child and seeing your family and only having 2 weeks, dealing with jet lag, and then you come home and your body's like, hey, we just did a ton.
Yeah,
Let's absorb.
yeah. It told me you need to shut down
Yeah.
a little bit, which was fantastic. We landed at 7:30 a.m.
Okay.
and because the thing for my kid started in 3 days, we had to go finish off shopping.
Mm-hmm.
Literally 4 hours after landing, we had showered, we had eaten, and we went off to finish shopping.
Wow.
Yeah, when you said whirlwind, I'm like, yup, there it was.
Hit
It
the
was
ground
whirlwind.
running. Yes.
But I'll tell you, I invited all of you guys, whoever wanted to come to India. I said, come to India, and just nobody could make it this time.
Right.
So next time around, we should
Please.
totally go, come hang out, shop, eat,
Please.
sleep at the most weirdest hours. So travel, if you don't go to other places and cities, whether it is in your own country, especially going out of country, we can't appreciate the small things we have in our lives.
I find that so true, and I don't know what point it is. Forgive me, I'll know it next time. But there's something about you don't appreciate how beautiful your city is until you leave. You don't appreciate how amazing your home is until you leave. And coming back, having your own space again, your own
Oh my God.
shower.
My bed.
Yes.
My bed. I
Your
had missed my
pillows.
bed. India is 1.2 plus billion
Yes.
people,
Dense population.
and I grew up in a really large city.
Mm-hmm.
We went to an extremely large city. For my kid who is 12,
Mm-hmm.
it has been imperative for me to make sure he sees what life looks like in other parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
On the streets, both his grandparents are reasonably well off, right? There is comfortable home, there is air conditioning in the homes. That's not normal life for most people
Right.
in India. And he was, and there is not that he had a culture shock because he had been to India 5 years ago, but it needs to be a reminder for me too, right? I saw young women, I saw old women, I saw young babies, kids on the streets, begging for a little money, a little something, and I'm like, we gotta be super appreciative of, anytime I have some cash, I'll give it away.
All the time.
Yet, you can't do that in crowded places because the moment you give one cat, yes. And when you have your child next to you, you want to be protective of the child.
Mm-hmm.
And you are, I felt really conflicted walking past and telling my kid and my niece, who is even younger, saying, walk straight, don't worry about it. Oh my God, they're asking for money. Can we give them money? Which was nice to hear.
Right.
Their heart, but no, keep walking. Because I was trying to protect them from the possibility of a mob around there.
It's very real and it's very scary, and it's hard because even if you were to give, it is a small drop
Drop.
into the need
Mm-hmm.
that is there. And it's can feel crushing to dwell on too much. And how did you cope? Did you find yourself finding time to go give offering?
I did.
Okay.
I mean, when I was alone, I did. And we were in the car, and there was a stoplight, and there was somebody just, standing next to it. We did. Um, but I found myself reflecting on that I was only in a place to give when I felt safe,
Right.
which is very critical. If we constantly fight within ourselves, if we shame ourselves, if we guilt ourselves, if we feel not safe within our own minds,
Mm-hmm.
there is no way to give, whether it is time, love, money, it doesn't matter. And I can't look for someone else to constantly make me feel safe.
Mm.
I need to find ways to make myself feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
I should make myself first and foremost. I need to tolerate myself. Doesn't it start with tolerance
Mm-hmm. And then acceptance.
and acceptance? If I can't tolerate, if I keep finding problems with myself, whether it is a body dysmorphia, whether it is a grade I didn't get, whether it is my cooking didn't come out great,
Yes.
whatever those things are, if we keep beating ourselves up, we are then expecting somebody else to lift us up.
Right.
We have to be that person to us first and foremost all the time.
And even if someone were to try to offer that to you, it's only going to come at you like a surface level. It's not going to sink in.
And how often can that come? They're not there all the time.
Right.
To, correct. And external tolerance, you're expecting somebody else to tolerate you and accept you. Forget about understanding,
Mm-hmm.
right? Before we can do it ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's a conundrum, right? So to me, I was reflecting heavily on it because I was very comfortable in the safety of my car to be able to give,
Mm-hmm.
in the safety of only one or two people there when I was
Right.
out alone or with my dad or with my, whatever driver, then I was able to give, versus when I felt exposed,
Right.
when I felt vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't give. And shame came with that vulnerability and guilt.
Mm.
So you can apply this to every day too, right?
Yes, it's the horseman.
Absolutely. And I was shielding my kid and my niece from, oh my God, there could be a mob,
Mm-hmm.
to it hitting me that I was feeling then guilt for not giving, shame for telling them they need to just walk away,
Right.
which was all me shielding them, which I knew came from a good place in my heart.
Right.
And so I had to process all this.
That's so many things.
It is.
It's to assuage that. It's when you. I was an EMT. Let's start there. Anytime that you have first responders, they can't go into a scene until it's safe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as much as you want to help,
Yeah.
if you put yourself in harm's way, the help stops.
Correct.
You cut off the source.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest depiction. It's the first time it ever made sense to me that, with fear and vulnerability, it's almost like poking a hole in the cup. You have a leaking cup. You have no security to hold what you have.
Totally.
Right? And you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
And that is the part that has been something that I think about often. When everyone wants to talk about half empty, half full, those sorts of things, it's there just has to be something there in order for you to give it. So you have to make sure that you have what you need. And the week I spent without my daughter, without anyone in the house, because my mother and my nephew also left for the week. I had the house entirely to myself.
Rarity.
It was great. simple things and simple meals. If I'm hungry and I have mushrooms, any kind of mushrooms, I definitely prefer like having shiitake in the house or something
Earthier.
Yeah.
Yep.
And while I love a cremini, it's not always what I want.
Yep.
So I do like that and some greens and just season them and have toast.
Yeah.
Like a potato sourdough. And that to me was such a simple meal, and I could eat that all of the time and be happy and grateful.
Because you didn't have to take into consideration whether someone else would like that meal or not,
Right.
accommodate their needs, accommodate their taste, putting that over yours. And especially as a parent, as a daughter, you're staying with your mom, so
Yes.
you want to be kind in accommodating her needs, given that you're sharing a space. You have another kid there with the nephew.
Right.
It is. I am really happy for you.
Thank you.
Because that simplicity, sometimes when we grow older, we take on the responsibility of others, we lose sight of the fact that we don't want to call it a burden, but it is, whether we
You can.
It is.
Yeah, anything can feel heavy.
it is, and you need to be open to coming back from such weight by yourself, because others are not going to know that you're feeling the weight. For me, I share this house, not a
Right.
small house by any means. I share this house with my husband and my son, and there are days that I will literally continue staying in my bed under the sheets, because if I get out of the sheet, I'm no longer in my alone space.
Right.
I'm in a shared space. I have to make eye contact. Right. As simple as that.
Right. Connect.
I have to. And there are, when I was sick and my husband and my kid were doing their thing, it was nice for me to just be under my sheets. But I'm coming back and over again, I'm like, is under the sheets the most I'm going to get for my own space? Which is why I created this room, right? Which is part of what we are talking about as what are the things I want to do for myself.
Right.
It's so hard not to feel guilty doing it for yourself when you have people around you.
Yes.
When the house is empty, feels a little easier.
Sometimes. It's been really hard
Not
for
always,
me.
yes.
Right. It's been really hard for me because and everyone has different spaces to grow. My mother makes it a point a lot of times to let me know that she thinks that I'm selfish. And to be quite fair, in her eyes and in her experience, I absolutely am.
Because she has had to be a lot more giving,
Yes.
emptying her vessel over and over again.
And that's also a form, I forget what it was called, but it's, no one can ever give back to you if you're overgiving. No one can ever match it. And so it builds this resentment already.
Yes.
And that's hard for me because there's times where, I'll come home from work. It takes me about 45 minutes to get home from work right now. I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yes.
But I get home and it's 6. Bedtime is at 8:30.
Yeah.
We try. It doesn't always happen like that, but that's the cutoff. But I find myself at 7:30. I am tapped out.
Yeah.
I want to disassociate.
Yeah.
I want to disconnect. And so, even with my daughter, she knows that I require quiet.
Introverted
Yes.
time.
And sometimes I will just walk out. I will get dressed and I will go for a walk. I will be gone for an hour.
Yeah.
And I will go sit outside and I shame myself.
Right. Because when you do that, we feel like we have left somebody else behind, left their needs behind.
Right.
We should put their needs over our needs. And that is a very It is wired into us.
Mm-hmm.
It is the society, it is the narrative, it is the movies, it is the words of our grandmothers and the grandfathers. It is all of those things
Right.
that are wired into us.
Mm-hmm.
We are seeing examples of it. We keep talking about emptying the vessel. It feels like the reason why that constantly happens is because it's as if there is no empty.
Right. It's just curious. It's curious that, but
Oh my god, that's amazing. We are ever filling. It's always there.
like how
It's
can you
cornucopia.
hold things? Yeah.
That's a lot. That is taxing.
It is, and even that will feel heavy, right? There's all of these things where it has to have a give and take, and I hope that by me doing those things, and this is what I tell myself, that because I'm constantly talking to myself, that I'm setting an example. So even though my daughter doesn't want to go for the walk with me, I'm still going.
Yeah.
My mother, who won't make time to go on a walk but needs to go on a walk, gets to see I'm making time for this. And I'm letting you know that I'm making time for this, which in turn, hopefully, will give her the opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to go for a walk.
The first time you did it, did you have to explain yourself or justify yourself that, hey, I need some space, I need to go for a walk?
No, because they generally can tell. I don't hide emotion.
No, the first time.
Oh,
Yes,
no.
eventually, yes.
No, it took me getting upset. It took me literally almost having a massive meltdown before they would let me
Have a little time
release.
for yeah.
Yeah, and it's usually at night, which
Yes.
also they'll add this extra layer. My favorite song to sing karaoke is "Just a Girl" by No Doubt.
Don't know the song, but
Oh,
I'm looking
it's
forward
like
to
an
it.
anthem of "You won't let me be anything but a girl."
Mm.
And I love it. It opens with "Take this pink ribbon off my eyes," but it talks about not being able to be out at night. So I love being out at night. I love being by myself at night.
Yeah,
I
the
love
quiet of it.
I love the cicadas. I have a deep connection with the cicadas. I rescue them. I teach people about them because they're these scary, massive bugs that scream from the trees in the summer. It's fantastic. But with the moon and the water that's out there, but it's so special and nourishing for me. But I'm out there literally, I cross under a bridge and I go sit by this creek, and everything in your head is like, I listen to so many podcasts about how people disappear, and it's because they put themselves out there at night in a creek bed.
And that makes us then want to have to always find spaces that are too closed off. Like it's, you're not able to explore
Right,
just your neighborhood.
right.
Forget the world, right? If we're always in fear, you can never be vulnerable.
No.
And without vulnerability, there is no adventure. There is no living. There is no trying. To fail means to try. To try means you should be comfortable with failing,
Yes.
which means you need to be vulnerable to
Yes,
it.
absolutely.
And that requires you overcoming shame. That requires you overcoming guilt. That also should require us to not look at the outcome of, if I do that, I will get that. The quid pro quo in our own fucking heads.
Right. You don't do it to get anything back. So one way that I take myself back in that is I do things that may be silly to other people. So today I wore fun socks.
Oh yeah, I love these
And-
socks. So cute.
I'm also wearing open-toed shoes. So you get to see my socks with my shoes, and some people think I'm a spectacle, but in my heart and in my experience of the day, that is me being myself and me being whimsical and me being in some ways vulnerable.
I
'cause
don't
I'm being
understand
seen.
how spectacle became a bad word. What a spectacle!
Right?
It's a great word.
It is. It's
Own
beautiful.
being a spectacle.
I dig it.
Because it is unique. It is rare. It is once in a lifetime.
And
it is one.
stimulating.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. she is a marvelous spectacle.
Likewise.
Oh,
Look at you with
by
your
the way, guys,
nails.
we did not plan this. Okay. For the first time, we are actually going to post this immediately after recording.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And I
And
think that's our time.
that is our time. We actually are hitting got mommy duty, got work duty.
Yes.
But we want to continue this conversation. This was it'll get easier and freer and flowing.
Yes,
Okay.
as we get more comfortable. So this is a big deal for us. We both have big Scorpio influences, which means that we kind of like to hide.
Yes.
And at the same time, we also really love attention.
It's so weird. Somebody reached out to me on LinkedIn, and we were going back and forth on, me putting myself out there and whatnot. I said, I'm not a fan of seeking attention. I don't want to put stuff out there to tell people, come and listen to me, come and
Right.
read my stuff. At the same time, I like offering.
Yes.
I like conversing. I like writing. I like conversations. So this juxtaposition of, I don't want to be like, I'm not doing it to seek attention. I'm doing it to be comfortable having my voice out there.
Right. And having an authentic place for any of you to want to come and talk about it. If you have questions or suggestions or want to know more about something that we've said, feel free to comment or message us. And, if you want to share a story or want to have us share your story, we are here for it.
Absolutely.
And,
That's the whole part of Big Venus energy. It's only growing.
Absolutely.
It's not about taking anybody else's energy. It's about adding to that energy.
Absolutely. And let's see where we grow from here. And
Loads of love.
until next time.